And people should be furious about this. Right now, anger is the appropriate survival response.
And I just want to point out to everybody that we've been right about this all along. We have been here telling the truth, that it was a fraud, that it was for global government, that it was a way to wage war against humanity. It was a way to give us carbon credits with national ID cards to track everything we were saying and doing. And we were only going off their own documents. Now they're caught out in the open because now they're to the point of where they can't deny it anymore because they're openly taking over. And right at their weak point, when they were going from denying it to admitting it, this blows up in their face. And more the evidence shows, and mainstream media is reporting this, as you mentioned, that the British government said, oh, this was a hack so that they could try to cloud the providence of these internal documents and emails and block it from being admissible in court. But now it's coming out that the scientists admit it is their emails, it is their documents, and that in the emails, there are other scientists, junior scientists in these universities saying, this is illegal, we shouldn't be doing this, and that it's those scientists that leaked this because there was just the FOIA request a few months ago that was criminally blocked with the British government and the University of East Anglia. And so people said, I'm not going to engage in fraud for you, and that this was given to the police, this was given to the BBC 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago now, and they criminally blocked it. So now the conspiracy of fraud is getting bigger, and as the criminals try to cover it up, the charges are racking up.
And it's becoming very obvious. I mean, we used to say the fastest way to expose a dictator, make him act like one in public. They're doing it right now.
Yeah, what about the UN saying if you criticize man-made global warming as media, you can't come to the Copenhagen event. Only if you agree can you come. We'll be right back. I want to open the phones up in the next segment, but only on ClimateGate. I want that to be the main focus in this hour. Only on this situation with the new United Nations documents where they're organizing a global government corporate takeover from state government, federal government, local government, right down to your children, how to turn your children against you. Now, if this doesn't make you angry, folks, I don't know what does, creating a false consensus. Mike Rivero, where do you see this going? As their banking takeover blows up in their face, as their global warming tax blows up in their face, as their... But Obama doesn't care. 34,000 more troops to Afghanistan.
Yeah, Obama has already indicated he is just fully in accord with this agenda. Remember when he was campaigning for president, he said, I'm going to end the war and you can take that to the bank. Now he's sending another 30,000 troops into Afghanistan. He's going to Copenhagen. His White House spokespeople are standing there with their hair on fire regarding ClimateGate and insisting they can't smell any smoke. They're saying, oh, well, the science is settled. We're going to go in and we're going to sign away your sovereignty. Now, the important thing for people to understand, and again, getting angry right now is appropriate because it's obvious they're going to steamroller this plan through, regardless of the fact that everybody knows it's a fake and a hoax. Their attitude is, well, as long as they're...
But we are getting Mike Rivero line back up. And if there's any problems, we'll just go ahead and go to regular phone line with him. You know, we can always do that. We can. Okay, great. We got Mike via the phone. Okay, Mike, you got cut off. Mike Rivero joining us by telephone from Hawaii. Finish up your point.
Okay, well, my point is very simple. It is a founding principle of the United States of America that we were all raised to cherish, that governments rule with the consent of the governed. And you need to look at everything the United Nations is doing regarding the imposition of a global government. None of it is being done with the consent of the people. They're trying to trick us into going along by creating these false monsters of human-caused global warming so that we'll feel guilty and say, yeah, I guess we got to do it. Or they're going to try and scare us with the global pandemic so that we'll run to them and say, please, please save us from the nasty virus. Or they'll crash the economy and say, so that we'll run to them and say, please give us some bread, give us some water so that we can survive another day. And it's not being done with our consent. It's being done with trickery and deception and the manufacturing of a false consent out of fear. This is not democracy. It is not even a republic. It is the imposition of a global oligarchy. And it is being done through fraud. Everybody listening to this show should be furious right now. You should be angry. I mean, screw anger management. I am seriously ticked off here, and so should you be. And if you're not angry about this, what's wrong with you?
You know, I was just about to make that point when you made that point, Mike. We're on the same page. I yell and scream, I get angry because we're meant to get angry over being usurped, being enslaved by a bunch of swindling, degenerate parasites, caught red-handed, and they're just continuing on with their fraud. Everybody needs to stop just accepting this tyranny.
Like to have another kiss.
Mike, I want to go to phone calls with you on ClimateGate, but some of these other issues, Obama sent close to 40,000 additional U.S. troops to Afghanistan in the last 11 months, but the media never talked about that. We would just see little blurbs about incremental 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, and they've sent more UN troops. They've sent more NATO forces. They've hired more Afghan troops. It's over 340,000 troops now, the Associated Press reports, against the Taliban, outnumbering them 12-1. But the Taliban doesn't even really exist. There's just different tribes out there. It's on record that most of the Taliban is working for the coalition forces. The war is over the pipeline. It's over the opium. It's over the black hole of profit that this war causes, this huge racket, as Smedley Butler so eloquently said. But now Obama has announced 34,000 additional, that we're never leaving Afghanistan, that they're going to escalate it. Now they've announced Russia's giving advisors. They're giving Black Shark attack helicopters, their latest Type Hind. Just crazy alliances going on. What is Afghanistan really about? And what are all the lefties saying now about their God Obama, the anti-war guy, escalating and keeping us in Iraq?
Well, I think a lot of attention is focusing on a statement Obama made last week where he's going to finish the job. And everybody's saying, what job? Why are we there? Is it the no opium poppy left behind concept? We really don't know why we're in there, except that politically Obama doesn't want to be the president who lost another war. More and more observers are saying that Afghanistan is starting to shape up like a new Vietnam. And, Lyndon Johnson took a huge hit for Vietnam, and so did Richard Nixon. So nobody wants to be the president in charge of a losing war, even though Obama promised he was going to end the war and bring our troops home. Now, maybe his promise was that he thought he could win a quick, decisive victory in Afghanistan, despite its long history to the contrary, and he could bring his the kids home that way. But it's obvious that whatever Obama is doing, he is not listening to the people, and that is what he's supposed to be doing.
Well, that's well said, Mike. Expanding on that, we have these different Democrats saying that, and now Republicans are saying they're looking at it and may agree to it. Here's a headline: GOP wages internal debate over tax increase for Afghan war. Obey, Congressman Obey, that's really his name, tells Obama Afghanistan war tax or no surge. So they're saying, you can have your surge, but we're going to have another tax. I mean, how many taxes has Obama raised? He's lied about everything. All he's doing is raising people's taxes.
Well, they're not so much raising them as they're simply adding new ones all the time. I mean, this latest one, they want to do a carbon tax. It's a tax literally on the air. They've run out of things to tax. We've run out of money to pay the taxes for. The government is broke. There was a breaking story just before we went to airtime where they're talking about a major, major uplift on the government's official debt ceiling, which we know they've already violated many times over. The bottom line is they're out of money. They can't get any money. They're trying to come to us to loot the last few nickels out of our pockets. All government knows how to do is raise taxes and take money. That's all they do. That's all they know how to do. And they're absolutely never going to stop until we make them stop.
But again, I go back to this question. On every front, the government is openly corrupt, openly run by foreign corporate interest, openly setting up world government, openly expanding the empire, openly setting up a police state domestically. And no matter what we do, they just accelerate their program. And I guess they're counting on Northcom to keep people under control. Real unemployment's over 22%. MSNBC admits, and CNBC admits, it's 17+%. Where is all this going, Mike?
Well, I think the game plan right now, and we're seeing this certainly with the climate gate stonewalling, is their idea is we're just going to do what we're going to do anyway, and they're basically relying on the idea that the American people are not going to kick down the doors and rush into the legislative chambers with torches and pitchforks to deal with the matter themselves. Of course, other rulers have had that same arrogance before, like Louis XVI and Charles I and Ceausescu and Mussolini. So governments do make these kind of critical mistakes, and I think this is a critical mistake for the government to go on acting as if we, the American people, don't have an opinion that's worth listening to. There was a Rasmussen poll came out just yesterday where 71% of Americans said flat out they are angry with the federal government. At some point, it almost feels like a confrontation has become inevitable. I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of violence. I've been hoping the federal government would collapse the way the USSR did. But it almost seems like our government is going to keep on abusing the people until somebody fights back. Maybe that's what they want, because then they can bring in the armies of the United Nations and reconquer the American continent for the New World Order.